everybody? So today I wanted to do a quick little video just talking about a multitude of things, but sweeteners and condiments, when they're appropriate, when they're not appropriate. Is it okay to consume artificial sweeteners? Is there an upper limit for artificial sweeteners? I kind of wanted to throw that all in together. I'm going to try to make the video quick. I know I always say that and it ends up being 20 minutes, but we'll see how this does. So first thing I wanted to talk about, if you're someone who follows evidence-based, the evidence-based community in fitness and nutrition, you're probably already aware that artificial sweeteners such as ones in Crystal Light, things like the sugar or reduced sugar ketchup has sucralose in it, a couple other things here. There's been a lot of talk in previous years about how artificial sweeteners are bad. They cause your body to release insulin, they cause cancer. So there has been no well-conducted study that has proven that. A recent meta-analysis, which I will link in the description, showed that there's no impact on artificial sweeteners causing cancer. There was no impact on insulin secretion, which, if you understand how insulin works, if the item lacks calories, it can't really cause a spike in insulin. And even if it did, if it doesn't have calories, then it's not going to really affect your body fat. Another thing I hear about artificial sweeteners is the rumor that it causes you to crave sweets. I would say that this is pretty individualistic. I will look for the research as well, but I believe that it has not been shown in a clinical setting to cause cravings for sweets. For myself and for a lot of people, the actual consumption of sweeteners like Crystal Light, like the little squirters, helps curb my sweet tooth. And if you are someone who is personally affected by them, you consume them and you want more sweets, then that's something to keep out of your diet, and it's pretty straightforward. I think there is kind of an individual response there. Other than that, since we got the sweetener debate out of the way, obviously you don't want to overconsume these things, especially if they cause digestive distress. There has been a little bit of talk about consuming artificial sweeteners in large quantities causing digestive distress. For myself, I can get away with a pretty good amount, but then you also start looking at calories, and these things do yield some calories, especially when they're in powder form, such as in a Crystal Light or a packet. What they do with the Crystal Light and these things that are in powder form is they actually add dextrose to extend them, because they are so sweet that you would literally have a granule like that small to actually sweeten a beverage. So they actually add more powder, so it kind of is easier to distribute into a beverage. So things like the Crystal Light can add up in calories because they do have calories from dextrose, calories from carbohydrates. Whereas maybe something like the liquid squirters, they actually just suspend them in water. So the actual there is no dextrose added to them. So they are pretty close to, if not 100% zero calories, unless otherwise stated on the label. I've arranged them in order of basically would I use them in moderation, or the order in which maybe I would cut them out of a diet in the fat loss phase. I guess another way to look at it is maybe I think some people are better at auto-regulating these things. They can have a little bit of sugar-free barbecue sauce on their food and be okay, whereas other people just start pouring it on and then you have an extra 100 calories for the day. So for myself, I'm one of those people who is not good at auto-regulating my condiment and sugar-free sweeteners, especially in a dieting phase. So I would say there's probably hard cutoffs for some of these for some people. So like for myself, let's give a rough outline. First thing I would cut out is probably like this. So this is a sugar-free barbecue sauce that I use a lot in the off season. If you follow the vertical diet, Stan Efferding has a portion in the vertical diet where he talks about adding dextrose to rice to make it more palatable so you can get more volume of food down. This accomplishes very similar to myself because it does have sucralose in it, which makes the rice sweet, makes the food a little bit sweeter, so it's easier to get down in larger volumes. But it's upwards closer to 10 calories per 2 tablespoon serving, and I would say I probably use more than 2 tablespoons in the off season on my food. So you're looking at an extra 20 plus calories every time you sit down and eat a meal with this on it. So I would say a good way to look at food is, if it has 10 calories or more, either account for it and track it, which you can definitely do. I just cut it out altogether so I don't have to worry about it. I would much rather be getting my calories from carbohydrates from whole food than from a sauce, especially in a calorically restricted state. So in a dieting state, probably the first thing to go, unfortunately. I would take that out. Definitely these. So you're going to notice if you're someone who's worked with coaches, every coach has like different things that they're okay with. Like I worked with Flex Wheeler recently, and he was okay with me having Crystal Light. in almost unlimited quantities. But with myself, I know myself. Like I will consume like 2 or 3 of these packets a day, and that's like 20 plus carbohydrates. So this is probably something that I would switch out. I would get rid of these necks. I use these in the off season just to make sure I'm getting the fluid down, and I would just switch them out with a liquid sweetener as I'm getting closer. And the hard cutoff for myself would probably be this one, probably at like 12 weeks out. And then this probably getting closer to like 10, 8 weeks, something like that. You have like soy sauce, definitely okay in moderation. This, again, this is 1 carbohydrate, 1 gram of protein. So 10 calories. It does have some salt though, so I might like it in a post-workout situation. This one too, your reduced sugar ketchup. I almost can't eat eggs without having some ketchup on them unless I'm like really hungry. So I might keep this in just a little bit longer, probably getting closer to the 8-6 week mark here with these condiments. Same with sriracha, 8-6, probably even 4 weeks. Probably can still get away with these in moderation. And keep in mind, I'm not putting these on every meal. You're putting on a couple meals. About a month out from a show, I would probably just get down to just this here. So a hot sauce that is vinegar based usually yields 0 calories or pretty close to it. So you could probably use that on pretty much all your food. Same with mustard, pretty close to 0 calories. So these are good almost all the way through. Same with seasonings. If you work with a coach who starts to restrict your salt at anywhere except for maybe the last week before a show, get rid of that coach. Extremely essential for athletic performance. Yields no calories. Same with black pepper, but more particularly coaches like to play around with salt a lot, and they're just setting you up for failure. So salt's okay. Black pepper. This one you got to watch out for the labels because this says less than a gram, and I'll probably talk about this right now. So labels are not always honest. You have to be really cautious. So this says less than 1 carbohydrate. So this does yield calories, even though the label says 0 calories. This is the onion salt seasoning from Trader Joe's. I think it's the FDA. There is a label requirement that if it is under 0.3 grams of carbohydrates, something like that, they don't have to necessarily put calories or carbohydrates on the label. So Circulose, I believe, is actually right. Splenda is right at that limit. So it is 0.3 carbohydrates per packet. So with this, just be aware that if you're putting this on literally everything, it's going to start to add up. It's not going to be a lot, but you got to be aware that it does have calories. And if you're not losing weight, this would be a place to look at, especially in a contest setting or in a setting where you're trying to get lower and lower levels of body fat. So just be aware, look at labels, just watch the labels, and you can account for you could keep all these in your diet technically, if you account for them. I myself would much rather eat some more rice than put a bunch of sauce on my food, and I would rather just kind of stick to these and just eat more volumes of actual whole food. To get on with that, obviously, like I mentioned, the liquid sweeteners, okay, in any amount, pretty much all 0 calories, except for I've seen a few that have some carbohydrates, but because they are actually just full-on artificial sweeteners, and they are suspended in water, not dextrose powder or anything like that, they are good to go. Splenda, I think you can use pretty well. I've seen Dusty Handchow's videos. He literally uses probably like 20 of these a day. Just remember, that's like probably at least another 10 carbohydrates or 5 carbohydrates added to your diet. So, but I like this. Splenda doesn't cause digestive distress. Stevia for myself does in large amounts. So I like Splenda. I like having some sweetness in like my oatmeal and stuff. So this is probably okay in pretty much unlimited quantities, unless, well, I would say probably no more than like 10 packets a day, unless it causes digestive distress. And that kind of goes for anything. If anything causes digestive distress, just get rid of it. It's not worth it. It impedes your ability to absorb nutrients. Some other things that I just wanted to talk about, I kind of put them in their own category. Diet soda, okay at all times. And specifically Coke Zero or Dr. Pepper, I know. Some of the zero sugar sodas and things like that have some caffeine. And caffeine for myself does inhibit appetite. It makes me less hungry. So having a couple of these throughout the day also helps to just kill my appetite. And then same with coffee. Usually coffee is pretty close to 0 calories. These ones from Costco are 15. So obviously don't do more than 1 or 2 a day, and account for it if you're not losing weight. But caffeine for myself, I don't like to use it in the off season. But when I'm tired and I'm depleted and I'm hungry, the caffeine just really, really helps. So, but also remember, caffeine does deplete electrolytes. So I actually do salt my coffee when I drink it. make sure you're replacing your electrolytes, having some salt on your food, and if you drink some coffee and you go to work out, make sure you have some salt before you work out. Other things that I like to use, just little tricks. I put taco seasoning on my meat. You can weigh it out and account for the calories in it, but it's really low, like 15 calories a serving. That really helps with just adding flavor to the food, especially if you're taking out some of the condiments. And then chicken stock is one I used heavily this last diet. This is awesome. It has sodium in it. It's something that I tend to replace with coffee if I feel like I'm drinking too much. Replace with electrolytes. It helps with digestion too. And it's just a nice beverage. It helps fill you up. So if you have a cup of this with some food, I found that it helped fill me up a little bit. It was great around workouts to get good hydration because one serving does have almost 500 milligrams of sodium. So awesome all around beverage to keep in. Just keep in mind if you're having it more than a couple times a day, it does yield some calories. But it does have some protein in it too, so that might help you meet your protein needs for the day. And obviously, last one, just a carbonated beverage. I really don't like these, but if you're someone who likes these, I've tried so many times. When I'm super depleted, they're okay, but I would just much rather have a Coke Zero. Same 0 calories, so I'm pretty sure a 2-liter bottle of soda is like almost virtually no calories. It might have some, so. But yeah, if you like these, or you like LaCroix, these are great to keep in a dieting state. All right, so I hope that clears up any confusion that you might have about some of these things. Just remember that if it has carbohydrates on the label, I would go off of the actual calories per gram equation, because sometimes even the calories are off at the top of the label. So if it has 3 carbohydrates, every carbohydrate yields 4 calories, so multiply 3 times 4, you have the amount of calories that are actually in the item. Well, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, like the video, subscribe to my channel. We're inching closer to 900. Once we hit 1,000, I know that's kind of a far out there goal, but I will be doing a giveaway. I'll be giving away some apparel, maybe some programs such as maybe a diet or something like that as well. So hit the subscribe button, and any questions you may have, you can always leave them down in the comments. Thank you all for watching. Have a good one.